Now, I often sit in my office and ponder big questions. What is the meaning of life? What does it mean to be happy? And was it a good idea to get Taco Bell so late last night? Of course, what if I could edit my photos on the web instead of using my desktop app? Now, I can't answer all those questions. You're going to have to figure out some of those on your own. But what I can do in this video is explore how Photoshop on the web looks, feels, performs, because hey, it is out of beta and it's ready for the world. Now, we're going to get to that task here in a bit, but first, let's explore a couple other noteworthy stories. Now, if you're a portrait photographer and a Nikon shooter, my guess is that you're already drooling about Nikon's latest release. Now, even if you aren't into portraits and don't have a Nikon, the new Nikon Z 135mm f1.8S plan is still drool-worthy, oh so goodness of a lens. So for example, this lens was made with 11 aperture blades, which when combined with its 1.8 aperture, produce nearly perfectly round bokeh. And judging by the sample of images on Nikon's website, it looks like the bokeh is absolutely next level good. Now, second, the lens has 16 elements in 14 groups and has multiple spherical and extra low dispersion elements that reduce things like flare and aberrations. Now, Nikon is claiming here that this lens is constructed results in no vignetting even when shooting wide open. And not only that, Nikon claims that this lens achieves maximum sharpness at f1.8. Now think about it here. Usually,
that's your sweet spot right there.
On a lens is a few stops from its maximum aperture, but apparently that wasn't good enough for Nikon. And of course, the high quality construction of the lens means that this thing is pretty hefty lens, weighing at 2.2 pounds. I mean, its overall dimensions aren't terribly huge, though. It's 5.49 by 3.86 inches. So the big question of the day is, how much is this lens going to set you back? Well, it's 2,500 big ones, my friends. And it ain't cheap, but based upon the details, that's a small price to pay for portrait photography perfection. Now, I'm going to put a link in the description below if you want to be one of the first on your block with one of these bad boys on your camera. And so you can actually pre-order one of those. Boom. I had to get this for this particular bit here. So Canon's been pumping out, as you guys know, a lot of RF lenses over the last few years, and it doesn't seem like they are slowing down as we close out 2023 and heading into 2024. Well, in addition to releasing a brand new RF lenses, Canon seems ready to start updating some of the current RF lenses. Now, rumor has it that the RF 70-200 f2.8 L IS USM will be getting a update Mark II version sometime next year. Now, at first glance, this might seem like a strange update for Canon. Strange update. I mean, after all, this lens is extremely popular and it's less than really 4 years old. However, if you're unfamiliar with this lens, it has a, do I have this thing locked? I sure do. Okay, it has a extending zoom lens. So in other words, as you zoom into the subject, the lens, as you can see, gets longer. Now, Canon opted for this design because when the lens is retracted, it's extremely, I mean, look at it. It's extremely compact. There's just one problem though. Now, apparently some photographers don't like the extended zoom design and have opted to use the EF RF adapter so they can stick with the EF mount 7200 lens. And I understand why as well. The older EF mount lens without the zoom design is more balanced and controls are easily distinguished by touch. Anyway, it seems we can expect the Mark II version to be in the not too distant future with a new design. Let's just hope Canon doesn't alter the optics though, because this lens is an absolute beast when it comes to imaging performance. And speaking of a beast, you guys have been absolute beasts over the years interacting with this channel, commenting, liking, subscribing. And if you have a moment, I would really love it if you do more of the same and drop a like on this video. Now, of course, if you have some questions, deep thoughts, or you want to just say hi, drop a comment down below while you're at it as well. Now, let's wrap up this week's biggest news. Now, it's been about 2 years since Adobe started the beta version of Photoshop on the web, and in that time, they have fine-tuned the heck out of this software, which is now available to anyone who has a Photoshop plan. And when you pop open a web browser, which incidentally, Chrome, Firefox, and Edge are supported browser. If you have Safari, well, sorry, that is not supported. Everybody else, you'll find an interface that lets you choose from a common quick action, like removing background, adding vignetting, or boosting shadows. And when you open an image file, you will see an interface that is reminiscent of the desktop application of Photoshop. In fact, according to Adobe, the Photoshop on the web has most of the commonly used tools that you're going to find in the desktop version. Now, of course, as you can see, Photoshop on the web has a toolbar where tools are kind of grouped together as workflows. So, for example, the tools for sizing and positioning are nested together, retouching tools are nested together, and so on and so forth. But the web version of Photoshop also benefits from Adobe Firefly AI tools. So for example, the generative fill and generative expand tools are available, which were, if you think about it, these were recently added into the desktop version of Photoshop. Now, in this example, I have selected a subject and asked Photoshop to add some fog. Now, this contextual taskbar is at the bottom of the screen, is also a recent addition to Photoshop and gives you recommendations regarding the next steps that you might take in your editing process. Now, this feature also reduces, when you think about it, how many clicks that you have to make to complete your task, which is certainly appreciated. In this example, I've removed the background and it's given me the automatic option to add and subtract from the mask, view the mask, and so forth. So really, Photoshop on the web is really all about streamlining the editing process and giving you yet another way to access all important tools for your photography. I mean, it's been really a long time coming, but hey, as cliche as it sounds, good things come to those that wait. But friends, that is all for me. Thanks again for tuning in, and be sure to come back to the next Photography Talk episode next week.